Shalom Yasharallah, this your brother Dawada, coming back at you with the truth again. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, Rakak Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, the great millstone that taught us his truth and every will. And salutations, much love for Yakim, pushing his truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth, and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. So I want to jump into this here article real quick. It says quite a few EU leaders agree with Macron on autonomy from the US. All right. So, hey, this is an article which is further, solidifying, the position of the beast starting, or the beast starting to hate the whore. All right. And this is like a, somewhat of a story that, we've covered quite a few times. And it's all been centered around this here man, Emmanuel Macron. All right. He was like one of the, as far as the Europeans go, one of the first Europeans to, speak to America this certain way, man. All right, well, you did have Angela Merkel when they was talking about raising up, the amount they was paying to NATO. But Emmanuel Macron, since this whole Ukraine scenario has started, has been saying, look, bro, we not really with all that, man. All right, this is actually fucking us up. All right, putting them into that position of what? The beast, the beast starting to hate the whore. All right. It says they too believe that the bloc should distance itself from America's fights. We won't speak out, the European Council president claims. So like I said before, it's not just, in the scripture also speak about this, where, while promising you peace, they're plotting to deceive and destroy you. All right. Just because these other nations aren't overtly saying these things doesn't mean this is not what's in their mind. All right. Because you got to understand what the ramifications of this whole Ukraine thing is. All right. For one, let's just say, hey, on one level, you have all the money that they're sending over to Ukraine, which is can be put to better usage. All right, look at what's going on here in America. You got, all these jobs or businesses letting people off. All right, people can't afford their bills. All kind of things going on. Food going up, gas going up here in America, and yet and still they're sending all this money to Ukraine. Right, so just imagine in these other countries, these European countries, if they're doing the same exact thing, how much more they could be used. All right, now not to mention the whole energy crisis they have going on over in Europe. All right, which could be better used to suit their people. So just alone on sending money to the Ukraine, all right, is damaging these European nations, all right. Not to mention cutting off, like the Nord Stream 2 pipelines, man. All right, trade with Russia, all right, which is almost like the same thing we was just speaking about as far as the economy, because hey, they have to pay more for energy now, all right. Now, not to mention just all the weapons. There's another article saying I believe it was forgot what country it was. But there's a country now, I want to say it's South Korea or something like that, that's having to supply America with some actual, where they're selling America some, some shells, basically, like, for artillery rounds, man. All right, because hey, they're sending all their stuff over to Ukraine. All right, in a straight up Ponzi scheme, man. All right, if you don't understand how these things work, so you have to understand, Lockheed Martin and Raytheon and them. Normally, like, what they do is they'll go and they'll have a war, and they'll just like, we don't want y'all to be precise. Contrary to what people think about, they switched off the M16 to an M4 because the M16 was fully automatic and that's just wasting bullets. These niggas get paid off for wasting bullets. They go over there and be bombing the desert for no reason, just because that bomb cost X amount of dollars, this costs X amount of dollars, and every time we drop them, we get paid off of them. So how much more in this sense, where hey, we're gonna send the rounds over there or money over there, or they'll say like, look, we'll have a bill. We'll in this bill we will finance military aid to Ukraine. But in that bill, when you look at it, it's like, well, look, this package also goes to stockpiling this or stockpiling that or development of this and that. Whereas that money never really makes it over there. All right, so hey, this is how things wind up showing up missing, man. All right, they'll hide like they do this all the time. Like they'll hide something inside of another bill that has nothing to do with nothing else. Right, like they'll say, "Oh, well, we need a pandemic relief thing. This is for the pandemic and everything else like that, and the help out with the people that's not being able to pay rent and everything. We got to get the stimulus pack. They're talking about, let's just say, stimulus package for the pandemic. But inside the stimulus package for the pandemic, they got some shit tucked in there about emissions on cars or something like that, right? You sign this to get this stimulus package. You sign away getting away with gasoline cars. That's just an example of how they write things inside these laws and everything else like that. So on a surface level, you think that they just sending money over there to Ukraine and sending arms and everything over there for them. In reality, they could be writing their own bills. It's just like, look, well, if you work at a company, right, and you got a budget to renovate the office, right? But it's like, well, I bought some chairs, I bought this, I bought that. They don't know that the chairs and table actually went to my house. I done renovated my whole house under this renovation of the business project. All right. And the whole time you funneling money into your own house, man. This is what's going on over there, man. All right. So this is hurting these European nations multiple different ways. Now they're starting to speak up about these things. All right. It says quite a few European leaders side with French President Emmanuel Macron in his position that the EU should not be beholden to Washington's policies, especially when it comes to China. Even if they don't say that publicly, President of the ECC or the European Council, Charles Michel, said on Tuesday. All right, and like I said, just because they're not openly saying these things, you better believe if they feel these effects, they gonna feel some type of way, man. All right, it's just like you got the guy, a couple guys at the job, they start cutting back on hours. You got the one guy that's all loud, man, they cutting off my hours, blah blah blah. They tripping, man. I gotta get my money. I gotta get my overtime. You got that guy, right? That sounds like Emmanuel Macron. But then you got those other guys that's like they got their hours subtracted as well too. They still got bills and kids and families to feed as well too. But yet they just going home and guess what? They complaining to their wife about it. You don't hear them complaining at the office. They complaining to their wife about it. Doesn't mean they ain't mad and they not complaining. Or you got the third guy that just go home. He all silent, but guess what? He's secretly putting in an application somewhere else, right? So this is the scenario that you have going on right about now. They all have the same thing on their mind, all right. But it's you really only see one guy speaking up about this out of the European or the EU, more or less to say, right? Which is the Emmanuel Macron, all right. It says Macron last week urged Western Europe to pursue strategic autonomy so that it would not have to be caught up in a crisis that's not ours. All right. And so there's that divide and that separation. Before it was all gung ho with one another, man. All right. Article 5. If one NATO member go out, we all together, man. But they're starting to wake up from this Babylonian juice, man. All right. Like the scriptures say, the nations are drinking up for wine, therefore the nations are mad. All right. He transgresses by wine. All right. And neither keep it at home. This is how Esau or these American Edomites, all right, have been able to drag all these other Edomites into their bullshit. But guess what? These other nations are realizing they don't benefit from none of this here stuff, man. And now they mad and they upset about these things. It's only hurting them and not benefiting them, right? So it's just like how you Americans feel when these politicians, all right, they pander you, even though like this is a bad example because this shit is all fake anyway. But you believe this shit work like this, right? So you feel like, oh well, whatever, let's just say Biden, right? Or we don't even know if we can speak on that because it'll get us with this political shit. But let's say that there's a politician, right, that promises you the world. We're going to wipe debt. We're going to get rid of all your debt. Just vote for me. And we're going to give you reparations too. Then your stupid ass go over there and vote for these people, right? And then they wind up getting into office. But then the people realize, like, oh, this guy didn't do anything for us. We didn't give him our votes, and now we all upset. Now we don't want to rock with him no more, right? So again, I know that you don't really vote in your politicians, but this is how the people feel. But eventually, like, see, well, y'all went out there, y'all voted for these people. They're well, we can't speak on this president, but you'll have some people that say, oh, you ain't really down for the cause if you don't vote for us, or you ain't really this, and that if you don't vote for this person. Then they get in office, they don't do nothing for your party, man, at all. And then you just be out there like, well, what did this person do for your group or your category of people? Nothing. So then you get to sober up and realize, why the hell am I keep participating in this bullshit, man? Let me mind my business while they over there doing their thing, man. So I don't have to be a part of this. And this is what you see these nations starting to do, back up off of this scenario. It's like, look, man, we no longer participate in this here game that's rigged against us, man. Y'all gonna do whatever y'all gonna do anyway. Y'all just want our support to back y'all in the bullshit that y'all doing. All right. Just so if and when things go wrong, like, well, half of the population backed us when we was doing this shit, so y'all can't be too mad about it. Y'all voted us in here, right? So it says the worst thing we could think that the Europeans must hold on. The worst thing would be to think that we Europeans must become followers on the topic and take our cue from the U.S. agenda and the Chinese and a Chinese overcorrection. The French leader said during a visit to China, and this is the exact same play that they tried. Well, France tried, all right, in Ukraine. All right, there's like, well, we don't quite want to press the gas on this one because we don't want them to take this as an aggression and then they fuck us over and then they stop sending us oil and stop sending us some shit that we do business with them. You know what I'm saying? This is not really good for us to be doing all these things. You know what I'm saying? But hey, this is what you have going on. All right. It says some European leaders wouldn't say things the same way that Emmanuel Macron did. Michael commented on Wednesday, but I think quite a few really think like Emmanuel Macron. Michael, who made his remarks on an interview with French television program, noted that there has been a leap forward on strategic autonomy compared to several years ago. The alliance between the U.S. and the EU remains strong, he assessed, but if its alliance with the United States would suppose that we blindly, systematically follow the position of the United States on all issues, no, the official added. And what scripture should come to your mind? All right. When the scriptures speak about the whore and the beast and their relationship, and you really visualize how that's broken down. I'd always say, look, because people, you use the word whore and beast, and people, their mindsets get all frayed up. But just think about it, a horse and a rider, right? When you have a horse and a rider, the horse is at that point in time is domesticated, so it's like he's gonna go where the rider steers him to go, right? So the horse is like, look, man, like you can lead a horse, and the horse gonna go wherever he's gonna go. You lead him into battle, into a fight, and everything. But sometimes you lead a horse to a certain position, and the horse gets smart, and the horse will buck up and be like, "We're not going there, right?" Hey, you might try to go run a horse, and like people drive cars off bridges. You might try to drive your horse off a cliff, and the horse might stop, like, "Nah, bro, we not doing that," right? So now you starting to see the beast or the horse, all right, starting to stray and go a different direction than the rider is pointing them into. All right, because their relationship is symbiotic. They normally go in the same direction, whichever way the rider is pointing them. And the rider would be America, the beast or the horse would be the EU. But now that horse is starting to buck up. Nah, y'all not about to take us over this here cliff. We got to look. We got to think about self-preservation first. All right. It says, let me read that again. It says, but if this alliance with the United States was supposed that we blindly, systematically follow the position of the United States on all issues, which it has been doing since NATO's formation. All right. It says, no, the official added. Discussion in the EU about increasing its autonomy from the U.S. included by creating a pan-European military force have been sidelined amid the crisis in Ukraine. Now, if they was going to try to openly do that, that's something they would have to secretly do because America would buck up against it and fight against their ass, man. All right, you know what I'm saying? But ultimately, it's going to be the fight between them. But, and the Lord is setting all these things up the way he wants it to be done. But overtly, if they was to do that, America would have a problem with that because they would lose the majority of their military strength at that point. All right, because you got to understand, yeah, America got all this here military might and everything, but they really dominate because they have all these bases around the earth, and whoever their opponent is, they pretty much got a base on their doorstep. So all they got to do is hit them from their bases, which their bases are in these European nations, uh, on their property and stuff like that. So if they lose that, now it would how would I say it would equal the playing field because you would think about you have to think logistically about how wars would be fought. People think because China got all these goddamn people over there, they got like which they probably do have the world's largest military, right? But it don't mean shit if they can't get over to America. They gotta in order for China to attack America like militarily, not like financially or anything, but militarily for them to attack America, they got to get all their equipment and their troops all the way over to America to do so. All right, which in order for them to bring big weaponry like planes and shit, they need aircraft carriers, and they only got one aircraft carrier. All right, to do so. So that shit would get shot out of the water on this travel all the way over. So it's really a lose-lose situation for China trying to invade America like that. They would have to. It would, this is why you're starting to see shit like Mexico and them trying to join part of BRICS, and why America would stop all of that shit, right? Because they would have an enemy right there on their border. America's protected by the oceans on both sides and allies on the north and the south. All right. So and they on the other side of the globe. So like I said, they would see people coming towards them for days on end. Whereas China, if America was trying to attack China, well, all they got to do is shoot over North Korea. They stationed right there in South Korea. They not far at all from where they trying to fight at. You know what I'm saying? So that's America's advantage. But now let's just say hypothetically, you know, these things switch around. All right. Now, America, well, let's say not switch around. Let's say America didn't have that base in South Korea or any of those bases over there, right? And America was trying to fight China. That would mean America would be in the same boat as China. Well, they got more aircraft carriers, right? So that's one thing. But they would have to uh, launch their aircraft carriers to bring their aircraft all the way over to China. They would have to bring troops all the way over to China, have to bring tanks all the way over to China just to fight a war to invade China. All right, so that would be, the weakening of the American military if they was to lose all their European counterparts, man. I use South Korea, but just giving you a location to where like I said, if you look at a map of all these bases, it will be clear as day what's going on. You can look up U.S. bases around the world and NATO bases around the world. All right, and just think about it, NATO bases are pretty much ran by America, and that's where America have all their stuff stationed at. And so, hey, if the European, just think about if the EU, because NATO is made up of the majority of the people in NATO is the EU. Then you have a couple other countries that's not in the EU. Like let's say for instance Turkey, uh, Canada, and the U.S. Right, and there may be like one more, but everybody else is in the EU. So they could have their own military forces, just called the EU, but the EU is not a military branch. That's more or less a like a financial like a financial branch or a financial ring or something like that. That's not a fighting branch. You know what I'm saying? But nevertheless, like when you talk about the G7 and stuff, that's not a military group. That's more or less like a financial, or not even to say financial, just like political group, right? So going back to this here article, it says, where are we at? We'll just start back at the top. It says, discussions in the EU about increasing its autonomy from the U.S. included by creating a pan-European military force have been sidelined amid the crisis in Ukraine. Brussels has firmly supported Washington's drive to punish Russia with sanctions and arm Ukraine against it, even as it's decoupled from the Russian economy, contributed to the inflation and hurt competitiveness in European businesses. All right, so pretty much these people have what they call assisted suicide here, man. All right, according to the assessments in Moscow, the EU has deviated from its original purpose in economic integration and become an extension of NATO, putting U.S. geostrategic goals before its own interests. U.S.-Chinese relations have been deteriorating for years as Washington has accused Beijing of undermining rule-based order. The Chinese government said that the U.S. leadership was stuck in a Cold War mentality and perceived the balance of interest between global powers as a zero-sum game. All right, let's go into some scriptures here, because ultimately this is all leading to the demise of the American partnership with their allies. All right, and speaking of which, let's read this in Obadiah 1:7. All right, I'm going to start off in the NLT. It says, all of your allies, all right, all of your allies will turn against you, right? So in the KJV, it says, all the men of thy confederacy have bought thee even to the border. All right. It says, the men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and punished thee. And this is the point where we at right about now. All right. Let me read that in NLT. It says, they will promise you peace while plotting to deceive and destroy you. So right now they're promising them peace. Yeah, we still on your side and everything else like that. But what do you think they got going on in the back of their minds? What do you think they say? Like Macron says, hey, look, I feel this way, but please believe some of these other EU leaders feel the same way I feel. They just not openly saying it. And again, like I said, giving that example earlier, you got the guy that, the job is downsizing. You got 3 different guys. One guy that's vocally outsourcing his voicing his opinion at the job, Emmanuel Macron. Man, how they cutting my hours? I got kids to feed. I got a wife at home. I got a mortgage to pay. That's Emmanuel Macron. He's voicing his opinion on the world stage, right? Hey, America, we not really with this bullshit, man. Y'all tripping, bro. We might have to go find us another job if y'all keep tripping like this. Then you got the other 2 guys. You got the one guy that goes home and he's telling his wife, man, they cutting back hours at the job. I don't know what I'm going to do. They tripping at the job and this and that. We got to figure something out. You got a third guy that just go home and he don't say nothing to nobody. He's just looking for him another job to begin with. All right. So, hey, what do you think is going on? You got the one guy from the business owner's perspective. You just see, well, one guy's over here just voicing his opinion and this and that. Well, fuck him. That's just one guy. If he quit, he quit. All right. We still going to keep running. We got everybody else over here. But the business owner don't realize you only see one guy complaining, but everybody else feel the same way, because what you did affects everybody. It don't just affect one person. It affects everybody. And it affects them all in the same way. And they all got the same thing going at home. They all, just like these people all got families to feed, all these world leaders have nations to run and people that depend on them, man. All right. Just like you have Emmanuel Macron was stuck between a rock and a hard place where he has his own population that's rioting and protesting against him, talking about no more NATO, no more NATO. All right. So what the hell you think he gonna go and do, man? You had again, let's bring it back to a job. You got a job, a wife, and some kids at home, right? And you going home and they cutting hours at the job. You sit down at the dinner table with your wife, eating ramen noodles and fucking hot pockets for dinner or whatever. All right. And your wife is like, no more of this, John. We can't take this no more. You got to either go and ask for more hours at the job, ask for a raise. So you got to go find a new job. We can't keep feeding the kids this raviolis and shit every night. This is not going to work out. Right. So this is, hey, do I lose my wife and my kids? and everything else like that? Or do I have to go over here and say something to my job and possibly lose my job and my safety and my security and may have to go and find another job? All right. And that's where these other nations are at. Do I sit here and let my population overthrow me as a government? All right. Do I fuck up my job and my relationships with America? Or do I have to go and find me a new relationship or a new job somewhere else with these other European nations, man? So this is the position that they're in right about now. All right. It says, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. And they that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. And there is no understanding in him. All right. It says, your trusted friends will set traps for you and you won't even know about it. So, hey, your allies, the ones you were out there at war with, man. Again, what do you think that they're doing right about now, man? This is just like that silent guy at the job who ain't saying nothing, but he's over there putting in applications at other jobs. All right, now he's using up his last little sick days, his vacation days to go do some interviews here and there. All right, he's showing up to work late because he just left the interview. You think he's just slacking off at work, but no, this nigga got a whole plan. All right, if this nigga be late one more time, I'm finna fire him. You don't even really, this nigga come to tell you this is his last day anyway. He started his new job on Monday, so he don't really give a damn. All right, you about to get sidelined. You think you about to put this nigga in check. You should be planning on hiring somebody else. Meanwhile, this guy done got him a whole nother interview. Start work on Monday, man. All right. This is Revelation chapter 17, verse 16. All right, it says, in the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore and make her desolate, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. All right, hey, talking about hating the whore, what position do you think that they're in right about now? All right, they spoke about these things, and not just this article, but other articles. But again, you know, you're putting these sanctions and things to harm Russia, but all it's doing is actually backfiring onto on your own allies, the European nations. Again, let's just think about this as at a job. All right, you work at a factory or something like this. Now you taking on this new project or trying to get this new bid, and you're working your guys triple overtime, double time. You're just working them to death. You're not giving them no raise or nothing like that. You know, you got this new money coming in and everything, but you just working these guys to death. You taking bonuses and everything else like that. You on vacation. You know, you used to give the guys bonuses. You used to give them raises and everything else like that. You used to give them a little Christmas bonus and extra money for Christmas, Thanksgiving, and stuff like that. Nowadays, you're giving them, you know, some goddamn coupons and some shit, some movie tickets to go see some old out of date movies, the dollar movie and shit as they bonuses. Not giving them raises, asking them to work, you know, 12-hour shifts, 7 days a week, just so you can get this project accomplished, so you can get a big ass bonus, and you're not compensating them with anything, man. All right, so what do you think that these employees are walking around in the shop doing? This is how you get employees to start stealing from you, man. I mean, fuck these niggas, man. I gotta take some stuff from the office and blah blah blah. They ain't paying me, or they just get mad and start taking stuff, man. But where you don't see these things start to happen is in environments and jobs where everything is all super good. Where you have the customers all brain, or not the customers, the employees all brain. No, I love my job. I'll never do these things to my job. Oh, I look at my job as if it's my master. You know, going back to the slave stuff. You know, the slave that was treated all good, the house slave. All right, he was treated good, so he would do things to so-called protect the slave master. But the ones that was treated bad, and they over here plotting on how to overthrow the slave master or how to run from the slave master. And this is what you have going on right about now, man. All right, you're not treating them like allies no more. You treat them like servants, and now they're starting to plot against you and planning on how they're going to destroy you. All right, but we're gonna close out with this in Habakkuk because hey, people never thought that they would see these things come to pass. But hey, this is what you see going on right about now. All right, Habakkuk 2 and 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. And this is where we at right about now. We're at the end where you start to see America losing its dominance around the globe. All right, and it's how do I say it's push or its pull, his power over all these other nations is starting to wane. All right, and their enemies are starting to look at them, or their allies are starting to look at them as enemies. All right. So hey, we know we're getting closer and closer to the end, because as the scriptures say, all ye archers that bend the bow, aim at her and shoot at her round about. A conglomeration or an assembly of great nations coming from Russia is gonna point the arrows at America and burn her flesh. All right, we starting to see all these things being prepared right about now. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and close out with that. Lord willing, the elect was edified with this here lesson. Until next time, I say, call halal Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shah, Bahashim Rakakadash. Double honor to the apostles and the elders of the great millstone that taught us this truth and I rule well. And salutation, much love for you. I can push this truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. Till next time, I say, stay strong. Shalom.